Hi, everybody. Ginger Lumen here, and I am back with another speaker spotlight for our Bridging to Resilience conference that's coming up November 9 through 11 in Kansas City, Kansas. Yeah. And Bridging to Resilience, we are going to be joined by these two wonderful ladies. This is Lori Chelius and Andi Fetzner from Origins Training out of Davis, California. And say hey, ladies.
Hey there.
Excited to be here.
You guys are going to talk to us a little bit about your session that you're going to be presenting there. That's called Creating Cultures of Wellness and Connection. Really, it's about creating wellness in organizations, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
So what is it that gets you really excited about that?
So I think what gets me most excited is that we have some influence and we have some impact in that it starts with each of us. Culture building can feel so overwhelming. Whenever I think of like making big changes, I tend to get really like shut down and like hopeless. But what we've identified in the process that we've really been working on focuses on the fact that it starts with each of us. And so having that kind of power and having that like influence in it makes me more sane too, to be honest. That is what gets me most excited. I mean, I remember when I first came into the field, social services, right? I had worked in so many different hats, and I finally got all my master's program. I'm going into behavioral health, and I'm sitting with the families that I'm serving, and I'm sitting around with probation officers, teachers. I'm sitting around with foster caregivers and birth families. Generally, that would be all around one table, and all of the different folks sitting around the table were kind of coming from a different place, right? And had all different assumptions and didn't have a shared language. So what we really focus on is being able to create that shared language, to create that shared culture, to create that shared support. And I can model that, and I can be, a person who I often was the person around the table who would sit there and do my own stretching or touching of my fingers or dropping my shoulders back and breathing. And that's what's the most exciting, is the little moments.
I like that. Thanks.
And can I just add one of the things, in addition to what Andi's been saying? I think we think so much of what a trauma-informed approach is really at the end of the day about a culture that we create. And sometimes that can feel daunting because it's so big. And the idea here is that, we all have cultures. Classrooms have cultures, clinics have cultures, families have cultures. And the question is, how can we be intentional about creating that culture? And that's what we're really hoping to explore within the workshop. Is there's sometimes big, but also very small ways we can be very intentional about creating that culture that exists regardless of what environment we're in.
Lori, you set me up perfectly there, because this is what I want to ask next is, there's somebody sitting listening to this thinking, yeah, the place I work is just a drag to go into, and we know it, but we don't know what to do about it. Or we've tried things and they don't work. What is something that you said intentionally? What's one thing that somebody can start doing right now, today, before they even get to your session, that can start to make a difference?
I'm just going to build on what Andi said there. This idea that it starts with us is just recognizing, the energy we bring to a system, whether, again, it's a classroom, a clinic, a family, is contagious. And we talk a lot about, if you've heard of Dan Siegel's sort of flipping your lid hand model. And when we come into an environment and our lid is flipped, that's contagious. And when we have that whole brain state, that's contagious too. And I think if we can sort of all recognize that just what we bring into whatever culture exists can be contagious, and have the awareness to know when we are here, that can be really, really profound.
That self-awareness is a big deal. Thank you. I'm sorry, Andi, did you have anything else you want to jump into that with?
I think that Lori kind of hit it on the head. Absolutely. It does start with each of us. And, meeting our own needs. That's such a hard thing for us as helpers. We want to give. And sometimes we forget that whole oxygen mask on first piece. And then we end up saying, doing, or thinking something that we later on regret, guilty over here. And then we have to go back and do repair, and it just gets so messy. And so just even being able to navigate those times when that does happen, and knowing that that's an option, that we might go through the process in a nonlinear way, and that's okay too.
Yeah. So when people are at your session and they walk away, what is it that you hope that they walk away being able to know, understand, and do when they're finished hearing you?
So we talked a little bit about the shared language piece. We really enjoy kind of creating that shared language and that foundational understanding, and sometimes even permission that, yes, it's okay, we can talk about this stuff that might seem kind of, oh no, I'm supposed to leave it at the door. Those old paradigms that really don't help us when we're talking about creating a culture of wellness. A culture of wellness means a culture of connection. It means a culture of confronting things and working outside of our comfort zone sometimes, asking for help. We hope that people feel like this is attainable, because it can feel so overwhelming. And we will offer some stories and some experiences that we've had with in other spaces, across sector too, that this isn't just one organization, one person. This can be translated into any different kind of setting, any setting where we're including our home and our personal life, where this approach is really broad, and the skills and the techniques and the language can be translated to help improve that connection and that quality. So we hope that that's what people are walking away with.
Oh,
and if I can just add, I think, so much of saying it starting with us, right? If we say it starts with us, that can be intimidating, but it's also really empowering to say, really, I can have this impact. So really starting with that self-awareness, and we'll do we love to do breakouts and interactive things. So we'll do some things that can sort of, begin to think about identifying that awareness piece, but also like things like exploring our own why, like why we come to the work we do. We all came to the work we're doing for a reason, and reconnecting with that person, with that purpose, can really help ground us as we move forward when times are stressful and hard. And the idea that this is not rocket science. There's a lot of the neurobiology and toxic stress and all of that stuff is so interesting and all that. But the idea is this is all about human connection, and it's not rocket science. And I think we can all just relate to it, and we can do something with it. If it starts with us, we're empowered to do something about it.
Thank you.
And I know, Lori, that you said reconnecting with a person, but I do think it is that. I do think that there are different versions of ourselves that live inside of us, and being a human is really hard.
It was a Freudian slip.
It was a beautiful Freudian slip. And being able to say, we're reconnecting with that part of ourselves, because I'm not the same person in a lot of ways that I was when I first entered this work, and reconnecting with the energy of that person, the vibrance of that person, and also all of the skills and things that I've learned over the years, being able to kind of apply the skills with that same kind of energy. And so we hope that that's part of what we're giving folks space to do, because that's what we really try and lean into, is creating a space in our workshops. I think it's going to be a great time.
I got to tell you, the work that you guys do with Origins training is just so fabulous. The energy that you bring to this work. I can already think of about 10 people who if I just had a magic wand to transport them to your session, they would be there already, waiting for you. But this is so important. I'm so honored that you guys are going to be with us in Kansas City. I appreciate you.
We're excited to be there. We can't
wait. Send them our way.
Yeah, absolutely. Friends, esdac.org/B2R22 if you want more information. Again, this is November 9 through 11 in Kansas City. And this is Lori Chelius, and am I saying it right, please?
You are. I'm impressed.
Thanks. And Andi Fetzner from Origins Training and Consulting in California. Can't wait to be with you guys.
Thanks, Ginger.